Hey everybody, I'm Brian McGill, Director of Partnerships at Sibme. Welcome to How Pedagogy Injects Oxygen into the Fire of Online Learning here with the Sibme community. I'm joined today by my friends Dr. Deidrea Stevens, Paula Wood, Anthony Oliver, and Dr. Kimberly Ramadan. We'll get quickly into the discussion here in a little bit. This is a really relevant topic to most millions and millions of children are learning online this school year. This was considered a next generation learning strategy. It is a now generation learning strategy, and much change is going on through our schools here in the United States. And this is a great opportunity to kind of talk about getting back to some of the basics and the opportunities to make the most of this opportunity. Today, we're celebrating our Black Friday special here in the Sibme community. Like and subscribe us at Sibme app on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube to be a part of the fun. We're going to be giving away some special items at the end of every hour. I'm going to put a link into the chat here really quick where you can go ahead and register to win. The other way to register is to watch this video live or comment on the video. I'm just going to say that all opportunities give you equal amount, but we're looking forward to your discussion in the chat today. Later today, as part of our Black Friday special, we'd like to invite you to join us for several other episodes. The two coach replay shows relevant to online learning, coaching for engagement, time management for remote teaching and learning, and a really special episode we did in the Better Together conference this summer with Doug Fisher of PLC Plus and blended, hybrid, and virtual learning. All great opportunities to get some discussion around some things that you might be able to take back to your school after Thanksgiving. Okay, I'd like to invite one of my thought partners in today's webinar, Dr. Deidrea Stevens of Impact Teaching, Training, and Leadership Development. Dr. Stevens, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Hey, thanks for working with me on this special project. I've been very excited about the work you're doing with different campuses around Texas and around the United States. Talk to us a little bit about Impact Teaching, Training, and Leadership Development, some of the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. So Impact Teaching, Training, and Leadership Development kind of grew from my work in low-performing schools or challenging schools. I saw that there was a need for assistance or helping principals and teachers in those schools from people who understood the culture and the environment of a challenging school. So I started this company, and so far I have been partnered with schools and teachers around the world. It has really been a great blessing for me. It really has. I enjoy it.
What's the best way for folks to kind of contribute to the discussion and talk to you more about some of their needs relevant to your work?
Absolutely. So I sent you a link. I think you're going to show that link later, so they can definitely, so they can definitely schedule a free consultation with me right now. And we are interested in high need schools. So we understand that high need schools, they need extra help, and we are here. We want to help you. So you can click the link and schedule a free consultation with me. You can also hit me on any social media platform. You can email me at deidrea.stevens@impactttl.com, and I'm sure Brian will get that posted for you. So there are many ways that you can contact me, but just know that this is, if you are a high needs school or you are an education practitioner in a high needs environment, this is where you want to come for your resources. I am the person that you want to talk to about turning your school around, about implementing sound pedagogy in your classrooms. New teachers is definitely a passion of our organization, but I'm telling you, I just spoke with the superintendent not too long ago, and I thought I was talking to him about new teachers, but he was like, no, we need you for all of our teachers. So whatever you need, if you're in a high need school, impact teaching, training, and leadership development is for you.
Don't forget to do what the cool kids do. Like her and follow her at Impact TTL.
Absolutely.
On the Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Okay, it's time to get into today's main discussion. I'd like to introduce our panelists today, how pedagogy injects oxygen into the fire of online learning. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hey guys, hey Kim, hey Anthony, hey Paula.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining today's discussion. Really, this is a really important topic to everybody in education right now. We might even have, we expect to have a lot of educators joining this, but we might even have some parents. It would be really cool. I can't wait to see the chat on later today. Here, I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself. Dr. Stevens, thanks for your introduction. Paula,
absolutely.
Paula, talk to us a little bit about your work in education.
Hello, Deidrea. Dr. Stevens is actually my thought partner, my think partner.
Let's go.
So I'm happy to announce I'm in my 25th year of education, and I have been in different roles from teacher, coach, dean of instruction, assistant principal, principal. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is I made the brave decision to walk away from the principalship. So I'm still in school, still doing what I do, because I have a feeling, or I believe, that the role may change, but our purpose is still the same. So I'm still educating kids, currently at a high school here in Texas. And so as I get closer to retirement, I'm so excited. I have found a passion now for coaching young leaders. And so one of the biggest things that I'm finding right now is that we have new assistant principals that are coming into the field, but they're not instructional leaders. And so it is so important that in order for us to continue improving on what we are in the business of, which is student learning, then we have to coach those new administrators. So right now, I have been sharing my experiences with my family and friends. I do have a page on Facebook called Why I Left the Principalship. And so I just take a deep dive into all the different things that were going on, all of the different things that impact leaders. And so that's why I am right now. But I am a lover of students. Dr. Stevens always says I look for the most challenging ones, and I do. But I'm just excited to be here. So we're going to have a good conversation today.
Thanks, Paula, and thank you for bringing your wisdom, experience, and obviously still being engaged in the work. It's going to bring a lot of discussion. Next up is my classmate from the Virginia Military Institute. He is doing some big things in Birmingham, Alabama. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. Anthony Oliver, school leader, teacher, and coach at heart from Birmingham, Alabama. I am currently, just like Paula, I left the principalship this past spring as well. Going to jump right back into it, I'm in the process of founding a K-8 charter school here in Birmingham, Alabama, Empower Community School. And it's based on a few things, making sure we bring a diverse group of stakeholders, students, parents, and community members together to ensure that our students not only have the academic supports and skills they need, but also the social and emotional development skills they need. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing. I'm really excited to be here in this conversation with you all today to learn with and from you all about classroom pedagogy and the oxygen it brings. So it's really a pleasure just to be here. Thank you.
Anthony, thanks for coming on. It's always been great to kind of be around the campfire and just bounce ideas off each other. I can't wait to see what we bring to the community today. Next up, my friend Kim Ramadan, Dr. Kim Ramadan. She's recently moved to Chicago from North Carolina. She's been a member of the Sibme community for several years now, and she is a Sibme virtual coach. Kim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks?
Hi there, I'm Kim Ramadan. I am currently here in the snowy Chicago area. From North Carolina is where I did most of my teaching and learning and coaching. I have a little over a decade worth of coaching experience, mostly with beginning teachers, mostly in Title I schools. Currently in a middle school in Chicago, and loving it here, but I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for
Thanks for coming on, Kim. I like to take a moment to look at our title today, How Pedagogy Inserts Oxygen into the Fire of Online Learning. So let's just kind of get a few things out of the way. Dr. Stevens, talk to us about what is good classroom pedagogy? What does that mean to you? And what should that mean to the folks out there?
The basics of classroom pedagogy is just the method and practice of teaching. That's the basic definition. I like to call pedagogy the art of teaching. I think sometimes it includes content mastery, right? But sometimes we get content mastery and pedagogy mixed up. So pedagogy is basically, and listen, I'm trying to be, professional, whatever, but listen, I have to be myself. Okay. So this is me. This is my personality. Paula already knows I'm always out there.
It's
okay?
real. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're real today.
So basically pedagogy is, can you teach? And can you teach? Do you know how to teach? So I'm very excited about this conversation. It's the art of teaching, being able to reach every student in your class. That every student in your class learns. Because when we talk about teaching, did they learn? Because if they didn't learn, then we have not taught them yet. So that's my definition of pedagogy.
I'm going to kind of go in, Kim, and then Paula and Anthony. Kim, you when you're working in North Carolina, you're a new teacher mentor, a coach to folks starting out in the profession that maybe they got their degree from a university, maybe an alternative certification. I mean, bring your perspective to this question.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of the folks that we supported with the North Carolina New Teacher Support Program came from had alternate licensure. And so they got their degree in other areas and decided they wanted to teach. I found that that those folks had a lot of passion for teaching. Maybe we're missing some of the the skill aspect, but we're very, very passionate about this idea of teaching. Not that folks that came from four-year institutions, but I think that I love that you said the art of teaching, and that it's all about not just knowing the content, but also loving what you do, reaching all students, all of those type of things. Loved my work with beginning teachers as well. I think to really grab a hold of someone in their first few years and have the opportunity to shape the rest of their career in a positive way, it's essential. And our work existed in North Carolina because there were so many people leaving for various reasons. But we were very, very happy with the work that we did there. They're continuing the work as I sit here in Chicago. So, but yeah, very, very passionate, and it's important to really hone their craft, whether it's like you're saying, leaders, assistant principals, principals. I also think about coaches and the need for really honing the skills and pedagogy of coaches as well. I'm passionate about that work too.
Excellent, excellent. Paula, bringing your building leadership and experience to this question, tell us what your thoughts expanded upon Dr. Stevens and Kim.
Okay. When you talk about pedagogy, I think about designing, being an architecture of learning. And so any one of those things that you can think of, if you're designing something, you're starting from nothing and creating this, whatever this is that you want it to be. You have a blueprint, you take into all things considered for everything that you're going to do. So it's the same thing when it comes to student learning. It is how you go about guiding students to learn. And so if you are a true, I don't want to say a true, that's not the right word. I'm going to say if you are a teacher where students can learn, you've already provided the support. Think about it like riding a bike. We all went through the experience of riding a bike. And so whether you had mom or dad teach you how to ride, you may have preferred mom over dad because dad was yelling, but mom was patient. Mom told you what to do. She told you to hold on to the handlebars. She was right there with you. Same thing with teaching. It is how you go about teaching a skill, and most importantly, can that skill be transferred across contents? That's one of the biggest things. And so that is something that we just can't do off the cuff. That takes time to design. You're thinking about the process and you're thinking about what the outcome is going to be. So when it comes to being a building leader, I'm always looking ahead. I'm always looking ahead. You say you're teaching this, but how is that going to get my student to the point where they're able to show mastery in all avenues? So when it comes to pedagogy, I look at it a little bit that way.
Excellent. Sounds very concrete, and leadership is a very, leadership is a big part of this. And from my classmate from the Virginia Military Institute understands this very well. Anthony, you're building a new school. You've got, you're guiding students through your own vision of pedagogy in this new school. Talk to us a little bit about what this is going to mean to you and your new campus.
Definitely. Deidrea and Paula and Kim all hit on a few things I think are really important with pedagogy. First is content. Do you know your material? And then the second piece, and Deidrea hit on this as well, is can you communicate that to students, right? It's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to be able to communicate to students so that they understand it. And then we look and we move into collaboration. So what does collaboration look like in your classroom? And collaboration is both teacher to student, student to student, student to teacher. And there's also a piece where we bring in the parent for collaboration as well, because what happens outside the classroom impacts what happens inside the classroom. And the final piece, and I think it's probably the most important piece when we want to push and grow both ourselves and our students, is really around challenging. So how do we challenge our students in the classroom so they can grow? We think about, you hear people say pressure bust pipes, but it also makes diamonds, right? And so it's that challenge that makes you grow. And so we have to be comfortable in that space. And so very much so in the art, there's a process you have to go through to design that, to build that, and to create that for students.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That's a great answer. I'd like to reach out to folks in the chat right now. Our first question today was, what is classroom pedagogy? What does that mean to you? Go ahead, type really quickly into the chat what classroom pedagogy means to you in your world. Okay. It's time to get into the next question of our discussion for our panelists. What are some traditional challenges a teacher will face when classroom pedagogy has not been mastered? Paula, why don't you kick this question off? I see the wheels are turning in your area, in your block. Go ahead.
Wow, we could talk for an hour, but if there is a teacher that has not mastered the art of teaching, then you have students that have gaps. You have missed opportunities for students to solidify learning and make connections. You often have times where teachers said, well, I taught it, but they didn't get it. The data is showing that they did not get it. So you have a lot of implications in what happens as students continue to matriculate through school. Students are walking, but they're carrying gaps with them along the way. So if you don't have a teacher that knows how to fill in those gaps and make sure to check for student understanding, it can really, it's various ways. You have classroom management issues. You have students asking the same question. We could go on, but if a teacher has not mastered that skill, then there's a plethora of things that could impact student learning.
Here with the follow-up, she always keeps it real, Dr. Stevens. How would you like to expand on Paula's answer?
Yeah, you said doctor, so I was like, is it Dr. Kim or Dr. Stevens? Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that came to my mind, because I have, my background is in high need schools, so the first thing that came to my mind was classroom management. Like, that was number one. We know that when teachers don't understand the art of teaching, we already know the classroom is probably more than likely will be out of control. They will not know how to respond. They can't anticipate the needs of students. And I would even venture to say that there are some parts of pedagogy that comes with time, but there are other parts of pedagogy that you should know before you step into a classroom. I think that because, and Dr. Kim touched on this earlier, because we do have a deficit in teachers, we have become desperate, and we're just hiring people that, if they have any interest in teaching students, we're like, hey, we just need a body. We're going to put this body in here, and we're going to teach you how to teach children. But I think that also comes along with a potential danger. And it ends up being the gaps that, Woods was talking about. We have many high need schools. We can't find people who can take care of the students that we have and make sure they get to where they need to go, because the art of teaching has always been missing. So you'll also see these teachers have worksheets all the time. You'll see that all over. I mean, you'll just walk into the classroom, and instead of having or understanding the art of teaching, they just they won't confront that. They won't learn that part. And so principals who are watching, or assistant principals, what I'm talking about, or instructional coaches, what I'm talking about. You walk into those classes and they pass out, traditionally, they pass out worksheets to everybody, and everyone is quiet. And this teacher often gets accolades for being able to manage the behavior of students, but there's no learning taking place in there because there is a lack of pedagogy.
Kim, what are your thoughts on Dr. Stevens' answer?
I'm nodding quite a bit over here. So I think a lot about a couple things, just to add to what you both said very well. It's kind of this idea, and I talk about this a lot with my teachers, of skill versus will. You have a lot of teachers who maybe they have the skill, like maybe they have the knowledge, but do they have the will or the passion for teaching? I personally, if I had to choose one, I don't know what y'all think, but I would rather have someone with a lot of will, that is willing to do the work, is willing to be coached, because that just makes my job so much easier. I can teach you the algebra, I can teach you everything that you need to know about the content, but it's really the skill or the will that's most important to me. And also, are you able to build relationships with kids? We talk about that a lot. What does it mean to build relationships with students? Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm your best buddy, but it means that I'm consistent, I'm fair. I used to hear this thing like, don't smile before Thanksgiving. I think that's just a bunch of baloney, for lack of a better word, because we have to build relationships with kids. And I think Anthony said it too, with families as well. Especially in this time. I know we're getting to that next, but it's really imperative that we have relationships with families and not just with students.
Thank you for that, Kim. Go ahead, Anthony.
Definitely. Kim hit the nail on the head, speaking of relationships. When we lack that consistent, concrete, high-level pedagogy, what happens is, yes, you have classroom management issues, but everyone knows when a teacher can't manage a classroom. The teacher knows it, the principal knows it, and the students know it. And so then there becomes a lack of trust between the student and the teacher, for the teachers to actually be able to educate the student. And over time, if a student goes through this years after years, they can get in high school and they're completely disconnected from the system because they feel like there's no one here who can actually educate me, right? And so that's why, particularly in our high need schools, strong pedagogy is important. And it's essential to keeping students engaged throughout their matriculation.
I just want to add, if you don't mind, Brian, Mr. Oliver says some very great things. But I also want to add, we've talked about the parents and the teachers, but the students know. And I don't know if all teachers are aware, but usually instructional coaches and instructional leaders in general, they're aware. Students know when you don't know what you're doing. They know, and they equate that to whether or not you care about them. I remember as a school administrator, I had a student to come to my office, and the student said, "Oh, Miss So-and-so, she doesn't care about us. She doesn't have her stuff together. She She's not organized. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So when there is a lack of pedagogy, not only is that seen throughout your community and your parent community and your instructional leadership community, it's also seen by the students who are in those classes. They know. There's no pulling the wool over children's. I don't know how they're able to sniff it out, but they can sniff out whether or not you are ready to do this job. They know.
And that's why authenticity and being real, I think, in the classroom is just so important to your students, because they get that. The kids are just really smart in that. Here's my next and final challenge to folks in the chat. My chat challenge: list some challenges you might be facing in your classroom this year, or maybe some challenges you are having with your student at home. Opportunity to win a prize at the end of this webinar. Okay, we got our next question. How has lack of pedagogy affected instruction during the pandemic? We were all either building leaders or instructional coaches last year. So we were all in it when this pandemic hit us last March. Anthony, I'm going to let you start this one. How has lack of pedagogy affected instruction during the pandemic? In your world.
Definitely. So I'll start with an idea that we spoke about earlier, and that's the concept of a lot of students having worksheets. And as soon as all the students went home, and we had to figure out a way to grade those, that was out the window. And so if you were in that space as a teacher, to where that's how you provided your instruction, and those were your primary methods, you are already behind the 8 ball. The other piece about it is relationships and communication. It's the people who that I saw who did not have those relationships and clear communications with both students and parents before school let out. When school let out, that was a struggle. And so you think about all the different aspects of pedagogy, and that's knowing your content, being able to communicate, having spaces for collaboration, and challenging students. If when you don't have all of those, now we're not physically together. And so you can't wing it anymore. You can't, make it up as you go. The planning has to be much more intense. And so where people were successful were people who had already planned out, like the people who already had the next unit planned, and we just had to convert this unit into our new platform, right? And so those are the places where people were successful. But the biggest struggle was if you didn't have your planning already done, and if you didn't have relationships built, which are both part of pedagogy, it created an issue.
Oh, great, Anthony. Paula, talk to us a little bit about your world and how lack of pedagogy affected instruction in your building.
You know what?
Yeah, and Paula, you got to use the phrase that you came up with last night. So she and I, we talk about this all the time.
So I said that right now, going virtual has been the big revealer. It has been what shows you, or who shows you who your true teachers are, and who those who have, I think we talked about skill and will. And so as we transition, I'm just thinking about my experience this year, as we transitioned to virtual, you have teachers that are not tech savvy, but they could teach a rock. And so for those teachers, as we gained skills and tools to use, they still were able to teach. You may not have had the drop and drag activity, or you may not have had the ed puzzle, but you were able to capture kids, you were able to build relationships. And then you have those, because I'll be honest with you, at my campus that I'm at right now, this is my second year, I had a list of teachers that I was going to go to the next level with as far as documentation. And so this also has allowed me to see some strengths in some teachers that had relied on worksheets only because it was convenient, not because it was best for kids, but it was convenient. So now that we have gone virtual, this teacher that I had on my list has a wealth of knowledge. He's just been pushed into this platform now where he's forced to share that and to know that. So I see him in a different light. And I don't know, I just say it's the big revealer. It's taking all those different things off. All you want to do is teach, where virtual allows you to do nothing but teach. So it's been very eye-opening. I love the fact that we are able to record our lessons, because that's what we do for our kids that are asynchronous, and use it as a tool for helping teachers just improve their practice. But I always say to Deidrea, it is the big revealer. So typically, if you're struggling in pedagogy in a traditional classroom where you had 30 kids in the room, you're still struggling with those 30 kids on the screen. So it's the big revealer.
But it's not only the big revealer for teachers, right? It's the big reveal for administrators as well.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And I'm gonna step out here on a limb, and I'm just gonna be honest with you. For those and I'm going to continue to say us, even though I may not be a part of what I'm getting ready to say, okay? But for those of us who have been getting promotions and things of that sort because we were in a particular group or connected to a particular group now, but you may not have been the best teacher, or you may not understand how to manage an instructional program, but you were awesome in operations. This is the big reveal for us.
Because you
right?
remember, all we did for the first month, we started in September, but for the first month and a half, we monitored teachers' classrooms virtually. And that's what you did. Of course, I'm loving it and scripting and writing my notes down, and other people are just, they're overwhelmed. They didn't see the benefit of it. That, you know what, you're exactly right. I remember that. And I loved, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you can tell now. So for all the superintendents and executive directors and chief of whatever, this is a great time to see the quality of leadership that you really have in your schools. I remember, speaking to someone about what's happening right now, and their response was, we don't have anything to do yet because there's no more behavior, to manage. You don't have any referrals to complete or anything like that. The normal mode of admin, that balance of operation and instruction, that normal balance is no longer normal now that things are virtual. So if you don't know how to run an instructional program, you don't know what good instruction looks like, you don't understand pedagogy, this is horrible for you. You're frustrated right now. You're upset.
How do you get feedback? I'm struggling with how to get feedback.
Right.
That's what we should be doing all the time. But yeah, that was a good point, Deidrea. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great. Kim, why don't you follow this one up?
Come in on this conversation. So it's really funny. I go back and forth in my mind about this because instruction hasn't changed. We are still teaching kids. We are still looking at data. We are still doing the DDI process. We are still doing, coaching cycles. None of that has changed. Yes, the modality has changed. I think you touched on it. I think you made a good point when you said it almost makes it easier for you to get into classrooms because, go click on the Zoom link and here we are. So I think it's just, for me, what's been hard in the beginning, and we're getting better at it, is we're at like 96% attendance. Our kids are showing up, but we have black squares, rectangles, whatever size it is. So we have a situation where we are trying to get students more involved. And how do we do that? And it goes back to the relationships, and Anthony said it right. Like if you didn't have it before, it's real hard to do it right now. But I think we've set up a system where we have an advisory in the morning, and everybody has advisors, and I have advisors, and our job are to connect with families and make sure that we're making those connections when needed. And do you have Wi-Fi? What are the challenges that you're facing? And so there's one individual person for those folks to go to. In a middle school, it can be tough because they have so many teachers that they have to know and be involved in. So we're doing it. I mean, I know that, but the challenge has been really like you can easily like mute a kid, and not like, you know, in the classroom you can't necessarily, you know, do that, but I want them to be unmuted. I want to hear your voice. I want to see your face. And so there are things that we're working on. The technology, of course, is a thing that we are just continuing to improve on. We're using different platforms. And so for us, like I had a conversation with a teacher earlier this morning, and I was like, you have to remove the barrier of the platform. The platform can't be the reason that kids are not successful. So what can we do to just remove that? We had a teacher that went from 14% to 50%. And while that's not great, 50% is not where we want to be. It's not 14. Right. So, I mean, but we're still looking at the data. Like we're not stopping because, oh my gosh, I'm frozen. I don't know what to do because we have a pandemic. We do, and it's horrible. And mental health, we also have to take that into consideration too for our teachers and our administrators and our kids. But I just think that the act of the instructional coach hasn't changed. What I do hasn't changed. The fact that I'm on the screen, different, you know.
Right. That's a good point.
Kim, you finished up that last question so well. I'm going to let you start off the last one. So going back to Kim, Ramadan, what are ways in which these challenges can be addressed? I mean, what would, you know, just begin there. We'll start with the coach and then go to the admins. Yeah,
I mean, I think, you know, we kind of have a mantra of like, can't stop, won't stop. So it's like, you're not going to just let this paralyze you. And so I think that's the first thing, is like figuring out the ways to combat whatever the issues are. I know people put in the chat the challenges that they have. Well, who can you talk to that can help figure out those challenges? Because for us, you know, it's like I said, not attendance. Well, it's, you know, parents who are trusting that their 13-year-old is doing what they're supposed to be doing in the bedroom, locked by themselves with the computer screen and the TV. We need to maybe like check on the students and see how they're doing. I'm on the phone calling kids, you know, hey, you didn't make it to second block. You know, what can I do to support you? It's all hands on deck. And so it's figuring out what the biggest challenge is and then figuring out a way to solve it. And it's not going to just be me. It's going to be everyone coming together and trying to figure that out. But we're not going to just stop just because this is happening.
That's exactly right. You know, I think our COO at Sibme, TJ Hoffman, will tell you about excellent archaeology, finding some of the things that are actually working, because you got smart people in your building. How do you take those golden nuggets around your building and share best practices around it? That is one way the Sibme community is helping one another in the Sibme platform. But Paula, talk to us about some of the ways your challenges, you're addressing these challenges.
One of the things that I think when we first got out in March, you know, they closed schools back in March, and we found out that we had to switch over to the virtual world. And I had 2 new teachers on the team. Well, my 2 new teachers became the leaders because they were more tech savvy. And that brought my more veteran teachers who may not have been as tech savvy along. So as we started the year off asynchronously, those relationships that were built in March still continued. I now have my veteran teachers that have now gone out and found different platforms for students to use for doing a particular activity. I have another one who's looking for virtual labs and bringing it to the team. I think what was initially a challenge has now brought the team together a little bit more collaboratively. So I don't even know, I know that Kim said that we have those black boxes. And so I have some classes that have them on and I have some that don't, but they're still talking. So I guess if you want to say a challenge, that was a challenge. And now we've gone hybrid. So those teachers that had classroom management issues that were doing great virtual, we've now transferred over to, okay, so now you have kids in person. The same energy. I don't know if y'all know that saying, bring that same energy, bring that same energy you brought to that virtual classroom and give it to the kids that are in person. And so I don't even know if I want to say challenges anymore, because with everything that has gone on, I think everybody has really taken a step back. It doesn't matter what kind of learning you are, but those challenges have now caused teachers to be more collaborative. and more open to feedback. That's one of the biggest things, because now there's this platform that everybody is learning. So just from my personal experience, I don't even know if I want to call it a challenge. It's like, okay, so what hurdle do we need to jump over? Because we know we're jumping over it, because we're going to figure out how to keep jumping over them. So that's the way that I see that we handle challenges. And our role as leaders, guys, is to make them, I mean, I think there's an administrative pedagogy as well. How do we teach those teachers to think? How do we help them problem solve? So I kind of enjoy the quote unquote challenges, Brian. And I don't know if the rest of you feel that same way. I've enjoyed the problem solving that has come along with the challenges that we face this year.
What are your thoughts on that as well, Deidrea?
You know, I'm always thinking from the lens of the high need schools. So what I think right now, what everyone is experiencing across the nation, high need schools have been experiencing like every year, all the time. They always have these challenges. So the conversation of pedagogy, even now, big buzzword is equity. Just all of that high need schools have been experiencing is just amplified now. So I think to address those challenges, one, you have to change your perception of from what school was to what it is right now. I think education sometimes lags behind and changes, but what we've been doing, as Dr. Kim said, this is, I don't know, the only way I can say it is for a high need school, we're all like, what do you mean it's Tuesday?
It's just another day.
Yeah, this has been going on. But I think one of the changes that we can make sure we make is to understand that you're online. Instead of looking at it as, oh, we're online, you can look at it as, wow, we're online. Like all barriers have been removed at this point. Whereas in a building, to co-teach with with another teacher teaching the same content would require us moving to the cafeteria, or, we'd have to do something grand. But now it's just a matter of sharing the link. And now we can teach together. We may both be teaching Algebra 1. Well, how about your class? Come and join my class. Or even for an instructional leader to have a teacher go model a master teacher. We had to call in a sub, get your class covered, and do all these things. Now you don't have to do that. Now it's just a matter of sharing a link and that teacher being a student of the master teacher, like online. I mean, there are so many wonderful things. We've been talking about increasing the use of technology. And I think that with the pandemic, that request has been granted. Now you have to use technology in order to make these things, in order to make sure students are, learning. Like, having a YouTube channel for your class, or having somewhere where you archive the videos of your class for that day is nothing more than setting up your phone or whatever technology your school gives you and pressing record and having it available. Because guess what? After the pandemic, for those of us who are in high need schools, you're still going to have attendance issues, right? So have a YouTube channel and archive all your videos so that the students will always have somewhere to go. And let's eliminate the excuse of I wasn't there. Now there's no reason why you can't learn the same thing that, we're all learning. And I'll say to the instructional leaders as well, I've been saying you need a 1.5 plan right now. And I say 1.5 because we have a half year to go, and accountability, while it has been delayed, it's definitely not been canceled. So you can use this year to kind of get your bearings together. Whatever pedagogy the teachers don't know, this is a great year to teach them. This is a great year to get them prepared so that when you move into next year, which will, accountability will probably be in its regular order, they'll be ready. So you need a 1.5 plan. You need to get ready for this year and a half that you have coming up.
A guy that's kind of getting his bearings together, that planning for his charter's launch. Anthony, talk to us about the ways you're collaborating with folks in your community, preparing your own school for to start off on the best foot, right? So
yeah, definitely. So there's we're having a lot of conversations with parents about their virtual experience, and also with teachers around their virtual experience, and hearing the highs, the lows, the stories that make you want to cry from both sides of the reasoning, right? And what we're learning and understanding is that you have three buckets of folks. You have a bucket of people who this is going wonderful for, both parents and students. You have a group that's really struggling, and you have a group that's kind of just waiting for it to be over. But see, as we think about opening our school, we know we have to serve all three of those groups going forward, because there's going to be a group of people who might not only want the virtual option, but they might need the virtual option for a number of different reasons. And so you have to make sure that plan is in place. And I view with all of my colleagues here that I think the pandemic gave us an opportunity to really see some things, right? So what we're doing now is really just 21st century learning, right? Although we're 20 years into the 21st century. And so, but we're just now getting to it, and the pandemic forced our hands. You had schools and school systems with one-to-one initiatives, but students didn't have computers in their hands every day. And so right now we're in a space where we have to do their work that way. And it's also bringing up different issues around equity. You think about a larger major cities, we might have a one-to-one initiative in our school, but does my student have internet or a hotspot at home? And so now this issue has gone beyond just what's happening in schools. Now we're talking to government, community, civic organizations about how the whole village that we used to talk about all the time has to be involved in raising this child. And so it's a beautiful space for us to be in, and we can continue to learn and grow in it. And I would just say for everyone out there, definitely keep a growth mindset about what's possible and what we can do, because it's a pandemic. It's everybody's pandemic. There's not a single person who hasn't faced a challenge in it. And so if we can keep that growth mindset going forward, we can take some of the things we've learned here over the past 8 months and take them into the new year.
Absolutely great. Great discussion. I was reading an article the other day, I think it was in the Washington Post, about hybrid almost likely being the new normal, because parents are going to want choice. And, every school district, every charter is going to empower teacher choice in those ways. So it is not the next generation learning, it is the now generation. So, all right. Thank you all for participating in today's panel discussion. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to give some final thoughts to the folks in the chat. What were your key takeaways? What one key takeaway from today's discussion you'd pass on to a friend? I'll start with Kim. Go ahead.
I'm just really inspired by the folks on this panel and the work that you're doing to help educators across the nation. I just think the idea of continuing to move forward and problem solve, and I like the idea of growth mindset that Anthony just displayed. So I appreciate the time to talk to you.
Absolutely. Growth mindset for sure. For sure. Go ahead, Paula.
You know what? I will tell you this. I have enjoyed sitting around the campfire today. It's just been refreshing to hear just different perspectives. Deidrea, why are you laughing? Because I'm being honest.
Because I'm always laughing at you. Why are you bringing our home business to the screen?
Okay, we'll start over again. No, it's been really refreshing. I think that I'm just thinking as an educator, and I have to be honest with you, I get to sometimes when I'm like, okay, I've already done that, been there, done that. But this has allowed me to learn again. There's new stuff, there's something new, there's a challenge. And so being able to listen to all of it today has been really refreshing. I have energy now. So for those of you that are listening and, kind of maybe feel a little bit beat up with the pandemic and all the virtual stuff, there's really some good that's going to come out of it. And so, Brian, I hope you have a chance to do this with us again, because it's just really been great to just kind of hear different perspectives from around the country. So
Well, let's see what's cooking for Christmas, Paula. You might have signed yourself up something you don't even know. I'm just kidding.
Gumbo is cooking.
Director of Partnerships and Special Projects. Okay, that special projects. I got plenty of them. So, Anthony, key takeaways and thoughts for the people out there.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, one, just thank you for having me and having such an esteemed panel together. And I agree with Paula. It's great listening to others. And I feel like I know exactly where her school is and what it is. I can pop in there tomorrow and fit right in and feel at home. And so that's always a great place to be in. But I think today what's so beneficial is the spirit of collaboration, sharing with others, listening to others. And I would just encourage everyone out there to get you a positive circle. And I'm going to emphasize on positive circle to collaborate with and go through this work. It's tough on everyone, and we all understand it's tough. And so you just want to be with the right people as you do it.
Oh, great thought, Anthony. Dr. Stevens, your final thought today?
I loved all of it. So I don't have any great elaborative, I don't have it right now.
You know what? I'm going to take one away from you. Be real. Whatever you decide, whatever's your red plan, your yellow plan, your green light plan, your hybrid, virtual, in person, be real out there, everybody. Thank you all today for your panel. Let's I'm going to send a quick little reminder out to everybody that joined us around the fire today. Don't forget to follow us at Sibme app on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube today to take advantage of our Black Friday specials. We just had a discussion on how pedagogy injects oxygen into the fire of online learning. If you're joining us late, go ahead. You can rewind to the beginning. It's no big deal. Let's see here. Later, up next, we've got coaching for engagement with Corey Camp and Alice Schull as part of our Sibme Coach Replay Show. And then following that, 30 minutes later, we got a Sibme Coach Replay Show on time management for remote teaching and learning with Corey and Kelley Garris. And then we're going to close things out with the big man, Dr. Doug Fisher, on PLC Plus and blended hybrid and virtual learning from our Better Together conference this summer. We're going to be coming back for Better Together this year. Keep your eyes tuned for some of the commercials in between sessions. You'll have an opportunity to register for the Better Together conference, as well as enter to win some prizes, learn maybe even a little bit about managing your campus with this Sibme platform. Thank you all for your attending today. I appreciate your time. We'll see you out there.